Hey guys, it's Kyle. So for my RSA design project, I chose the How to Be More Pirate brief. And basically, I'm kind of stuck between, I guess, sort of two different style sort of directions that I kind of want to go. Um, the first one, I guess, is kind of more simplistic. I was kind of thinking, so he starts out the brief. He like talks about like two generations sort of clashing, and he talks about sort of this new generation introducing a new sort of style of living or way of doing things. He's kind of broad. He sort of leaves it open to the listener's interpretation as far as what he's like exactly referring to, but he does kind of specifically say that like um, this new generation, their way of doing things is very beneficial to the environment and their surroundings and things like that. So I guess the first thing, like when he sort of talks about like the generations, I was thinking about like armies, like of people, like waves of people coming through, like big groups of people marching through kind of thing. And I thought about like the most simplistic sort of way to represent that maybe would be like waves of dots coming through. And I thought like with the two generations kind of being like sort of clashing or one coming in and doing things different, I thought of just simply using like black and white or a simple color scheme with just like a heavy contrast to kind of represent that yin and yang kind of feel, that sort of which I guess actually that would kind of mean like I guess they're working together, which I also don't necessarily want this to be like a super like conflicting animation either. Like I want it to kind of have some like cohesiveness and show, because the whole thing at the end, I guess the goal is like showing this new style, when they rebel against the old and try these new things, do these new techniques, it's in the end more beneficial for everybody as well as the environment and their surroundings. So anyway, thought about that kind of just as a way to represent the generations of people doing things, maybe cycling through. It's like a bunch of old ones, and then it stops on like a group of dots after a few have already cycled through, and that's like the new generation. Maybe it would zoom in on them and focus on that, and then to represent that new generation, it turns into like more of a wavy sort of motion. You get this organic flow. That's kind of what I think about when I think of like new ways of doing things or being like adaptive or adapting to your environment. You're more flexible, you bend better, you can you go out of your way to do something maybe that you weren't gonna do originally, or especially if it's gonna benefit in some way, and you get like sort of a pleasant feeling with this sort of wavy look maybe. um, which also then I was kind of thinking when I started leaning towards more specific like icons and things. Where's now my animation? Okay, so here I was thinking about gears for some reason when I thought about this whole concept of these two sort of things. So like when I think of gears, I think about like the basics of like your factory or whatever, where like this whole other operation happens, and it also sort of visually represents the whole maybe function of the business, where if one gear goes out, the rest of them don't work. Kind of how a business usually operates, and maybe you think of like older factories and stuff when you look at just the sheer like guts of what's inside of it, which would be these gears. But then when you focus on this in between motion here, and you follow kind of the path, like the negative space, if you will, I guess, in between where these gears rotate, you get this like real wavy kind of organic feel. So to me, I was kind of thinking that in itself would kind of represent two different generations where they're both trying to get to the same point. If like I could zoom into these gears and show this like this wavy organic new motion to still get to the end goal somehow in sort of a surrealistic sense. And I had this other gear animation where it was I just enjoyed like how they kind of dove into like the guts of it and everything. But then, so my other style, kind of shifting gears here real quick. I did one of these recordings already, and it was like almost 20 minutes long. I just rambled on about stuff. So I also really dig this paper cut style. Every time I've tried to go paper cut in an animation, I've kind of shied away from it. Color-wise, I also dug this person's sort of choice with these assets, and it was kind of coincidental that some of them were pirate related with like the revolver and the compass, and he had some ships down here. There's a pirate ship and like the bottle and everything. Um, but I was thinking about if I did more like specific icons and things rather than that simple sort of approach I was talking about, if I could incorporate sort of my illustration style along with like this paper cut style. um, I feel like that would be a really fun approach and something that if I could figure out how to still kind of represent the same message through it, I would succeed with it because I'm, more into drawing and everything. I really liked how this one, not how they kind of introduced. I feel like they could have shown maybe more of like the drawn process when it comes in rather than just like a reveal like that. But I like the style of the illustration and then how they incorporate here the paper cut silhouettes on this graph, which the bars they use actually are the same shapes as like the silhouettes they used in this illustration style. So how they kind of blend the two. And then this artist, they're actually an animator, but their illustration style is, I think, pretty relatable to mine. And when I saw just this profile sketch of like the character here, it kind of threw me back to like the whole generation thing. If I showed like waves of like maybe adults or something, or like more to show like the older generations, and then this newer, like maybe a little older than this person looks here, but like some sort of simple character that doesn't really have like, specific. This one, I don't know, just sort of a lack of identity, I guess, if you will. It's kind of I like how the colors on this, kind of what I was saying with like just simple colors and just like a contrasting color. Rather than going into like the detail he does up here. You can kind of see his animation style kind of has like, wait, where was it? It's pretty cool. I really dig how he just kind of, uses basically his drawings, takes assets of his drawings, and I guess separates the ones that are the parts that he needs, the clouds that he's like interacting the figure with, where he like had the figure go through the clouds and stuff like that. But if I could figure out a way maybe to incorporate my illustration style like this person does, I think I could go a specific approach like this too, with more like humanistic sort of things rather than like the simple like dots and abstract sort of approach. So that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. So I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say, or what you think.